Good evening. I'm Susan Wojciechowski. I am chair of this August committee. And the first thing I want to do is do the chairman's statement, which is that the meeting is being recorded by the Community Preservation Committee. If any other persons are doing the same, you must notify me at this time. Seeing none, we'll then move on. We'll call this meeting to order. And I would like to do a roll call of the members. And Garth is taking notes. Great.
Yes.
Okay. Donna.
Here.
Wisty. Here. Garth.
Here.
David is not here because he is no longer on the committee, but we have a new member, and that is Sarah Brock.
They're both.
Bulldog, I'm sorry.
It's so close, trust me. I
Okay,
thought I did the same thing.
okay.
With H or no H?
H.
H.
And last name is Bolduc.
Peter McIver is not here.
Thank you. Welcome.
Peter's not here. Becky? Here? Hello? Travis?
Here.
Okay, so. Let us go on. Do we have any public comment? Anybody who is either online? We don't have any folks in the room. Or any public comment? Seeing none, we will move on. Okay. We have minutes from September 26th. Do I have a motion on those minutes?
Motion to approve the minutes?
Second. Okay. Is there any discussion on them?
Just one thing for this page 3, right at the bottom, garden block buildings requested 19,000 disbursement for completed project. Project's not completed yet. So you could just strike completed. You want to make it simple just for project.
Okay. And is that the only thing? Was, I know there was a section where there was a blank, and so I wanted to.
Yeah, I see that. It's right above there. I don't know what's supposed to be there.
Hi. Is it the CPC meeting?
Yes, it
for
is.
applicants?
Yes.
Can I?
Sure.
Yeah.
Welcome.
Come on in.
Welcome. Come on in. Was there anything there, or did I miss something? Are we good?
I think we're good.
Striking the
The
garden completed.
Okay, so I need an amendment to the minutes then.
Amendment, a motion to accept the minutes as amended.
Second. Okay. Any discussion? Okay, since we have folks online, we will do a roll call. Donna,
Yes.
Wisty,
Yes.
Garth,
Yes.
Becky,
Yes,
Travis,
Yes.
and Sarah.
that's me.
Yes, yes,
Yes.
okay, and I'm a yes. Okay.
Isn't Jack a member? Isn't Jack a member?
No, he's not. Oh, Jack, you're a member now, yes?
I am.
Yes, I am sorry. That is my mistake. My
And
mistake.
I'll abstain since I joined as a participant last time, not a member.
Okay. All right. My mistake. So Jack is also here. So that should be included in the members.
Roll call. Got it.
Okay. Yeah, okay. Okay. So with minutes approved, we have an information session for the full application. And we'll open it up to anyone who has a question that needs to be answered. Or has,
Great.
okay,
I don't have any specific questions. I'm just here to work on an application. Our grant writers mostly been doing it, so I'm not in the weeds of it.
okay.
I wanted to just see if there are any tips, particularly around the budget format. I know that you've shared some information about that, but looking to learn as we do the process.
At the end. Yeah. Okay, anyone else have any questions or comments that they would like to give us in regard to the applications themselves? Noah, Megan,
Do you want me to put the application on the screen?
that would be good. Okay, Noah, you have a question.
Hi, this is I have two questions. One's real general. On the first page, you ask for the project cost. And I just want a little clarification if you're talking about the part of the project that we're requesting funds for, or is it because I'm requesting funds for just a portion of my overall development project, so
The,
I'm not
The
sure what you're looking
total-
for.
yeah, the total project we're talking about is the project you're asking money for. Not
Okay.
not all of the things that you're doing. And then what portion of that the CPA funds are in that second box. So if you were,
Got it.
the total project were $10,000 and you were asking CPA for two, it would be $10,000 in the total project cost, and then CPA would be two.
Okay. And I guess I have a follow-up. If my project is a installation cost and a design cost, and I'm basically asking for money to help with the design cost, could I still put the sort of the whole design and installation cost as
Put
the
the
project
design
cost?
cost in. Put the design
Oh, okay.
cost in, because
So
that's what you're
that's-
asking more money for, unless anybody has any disagreement on that. What do you think, Travis? You've got that look on your face.
Well, I was just thinking, when we score things, it gets scored higher if the amount they're asking for from CPC is a lower percentage of the total cost.
True.
So if someone put their total project cost in, and then CPC was like 5% of that,
Mhm.
that would be different than if they only put in the design cost and they were asking for 100% of the design cost.
What do other folks think?
I agree with what Travis.
Okay,
I mean, because I was thinking like, the shelter on Wells Street,
mm-hmm,
I mean, I think it was like a huge number.
Oh, right.
That was
Yeah, it's
Right.
a $30 million project, so
Right,
like, but
right.
we need 100,000
Right.
for like preliminary work.
right. Okay, I stand corrected.
So
I see.
my thinking is that is the total project cost
Mhm,
and
The portion of
and then the
CPA
portion.
mhm.
funds.
Okay,
Because we want to know, like, are we helping, are we helping a $1 million project happen? Even if we only give $10,000 to help it
Mhm.
happen, but that $10,000 is gonna be instrumental rather than just, $10,000 design,
mhm.
who knows what's gonna come up.
Yep, I do stand corrected on that. Donna?
Okay.
Well, I guess I'm looking at it from the other direction, which is that what I heard Noah say was that he's asking for CPC funds for the design phase of the project. So to me, if he's asking for the design phase and say he needs $50,000 for the design and he's asking for $20,000, then CPA funds, well, I don't know, I'm just thinking about ratios here, but yeah, it seems to me that if he's asking for help with the design, then that's the project. I don't know, I could go either way, but just playing devil's advocate here.
Christian?
For me, I think it's just best to put both. So for the CPA funds requested, it'll be obviously how much you're asking for CPA. In that total project cost box will be the amount for the design. And then right below it, just add in a little bit extra about the actual total cost for the entire project. So the committee has both.
Mhm.
I think that's the most helpful thing to do.
That sounds like a good answer to this, because on the one hand, we're not funding the rest of it. On the other hand, it's good for us to have the context. So I think that helps. So do you feel comfortable with that, Noah?
Yeah, that sounds great. I figure, more information, the better. So I put everything in.
Donna, do you have something else you want to say about
Yeah,
this?
I would just advise that it is good for us to know the full scope of the project, and that is something that you can, certainly cover in your narrative. And also include how CPC funds could impact your ability to raise other monies. Because that is something that we take into account as well.
Mhm. Good point.
Great, thank
Anyone
you.
else? Anyone else have questions? Or comments? Yeah,
In our case, we'll have multiple funding sources for a project that has different phases to it. And the historical ones are where we'll allocate any funds we receive from this program. But in the construction and renovation process, I'm assuming any expenses that were incurred before we receive a payment from this funding source would be not eligible. It couldn't pay us back for anything that happened prior to that date, right?
that's correct.
Okay, just want to make sure, because it's like,
Yeah,
there's sometimes,
Which is mostly true. I mean, it's a
Yeah.
reimbursement based
it is reimbursement based,
thing, but like,
but we,
but if you incur
yeah.
it before the application or
Contract.
before you've been,
Yeah.
before you got a contract, yeah.
on the other hand, if you want to include that in an explanation of what's been paid or what is going, that's fine. And that gives us a context, again, like, that gives us context.
Like, just to give the context that other funds paid for this, but it was part of the historical renovation.
That's correct. So, you know, and that's part of your total, and that would be helpful for us to
I
know.
think we'll have that anyway. Yeah,
Okay,
We've
great.
already sunk $500,000 into this. We need another 10,000 to finish the project. Will you give us 10,000? Is more compelling than
we've already done it.
like. Well, it's more compelling than like, we've finished all of it and we'd really like to get paid back.
Yeah,
And it's also more compelling than like, oh, we just want 10,000 for X, Y, and Z thing,
right.
you know,
My
to do the
concern is that-
doorway, whatnot.
But as you know, with construction, sometimes it makes sense to do A, B, C,
Mhm,
because of the funding timeline. I might have to do like B, A, C.
mhm.
But-
Yeah, and as long as you explain that to us, that's fine. You know, I mean, the issue for us is to understand how the funds that we have available fit in with what you're doing. And so if we have, as long as we have that context, that's just fine for us.
Great, thanks for that.
Anybody else? Megan, do you have anything you want to check in? You've been through this project before, so you know what we're doing. And Jack, even though you're on the committee, you also have put in some stuff. So if there are any questions you have, you should throw them out here.
Yeah, I don't have any project specific questions. Thank you, everyone.
Okay, so if there are no other questions, it's going to be a short meeting. If there are no other questions, then we'll move on.
I know.
Okay, all right. And this is developing, thank you for coming. We need to have a policy. We've been talking about this several times, a policy on committee member absences. This has been an issue, and this is not a blame game. This is much more like, it really revolves around the fact that unlike many other committees in the city where a question may go over 2 meetings, basically we start with a question and we go through the year with it. And if we've got people who are not here for extended periods of time, it makes it difficult for us to do our work.
Yeah.
So we really need to think about this. So I'm going to open up the floor for thoughts on this, and we'll go from there. Scott.
I might have a good starting point, the planning board as an absences policy. So this is actually in the city code. So for the planning board, following 2 unexplained consecutive absences, a board member will be contacted by the chairperson to ascertain the intentions of said member about his/her future attendance. If any member has more than 6 unexplained absences a year, the planning board shall ask the mayor for a replacement. That last section, I don't know how feasible that is. The person would have to resign.
And that's a lot of absences.
That's, yeah, yeah.
Half the year.
But I think the 2 unexplained and then having to have a conversation with the chair feels very reasonable.
Mhm.
And the Conservation Commission has something similar to that too. They might even be worded exactly the same. I don't have it in front of me, but yeah, I think to me, the hard part is we don't really have an enforcement mechanism, like, because we're appointed by different bodies and,
Right.
it's like you would have to, first talk to the person and then you would have to like talk to the body that they're appointed
Mhm.
from
Mhm.
and say like, this person isn't showing up and we want you to appoint someone different. I don't know.
Well, I think my thought is that if we keep, if we have a policy, that should go to all of the heads of the various appointing bodies so that they know about this. And then at that point, we have attendance that we keep. And so at that point, if if we know that consistently someone has not been able to come, and, in the case of David, he was working, and that's not, that's not something you can, it's out of his control, but it also makes it difficult for us to be able to do our work. Then we need to contact the chair and say, this is what's happened. This is our policy. Can you appoint someone else from your commission, or in my case, from the council, or your case going to the mayor?
I think there should be something around, if you're not gonna come, you need to tell someone too, because
Mhm.
that's happened a few times. where
Right.
People just didn't show up and didn't communicate with Christian or
Right.
Susan. I mean, we're
Right.
adults.
Right. Right. And we didn't hear, for instance, we didn't hear from Peter this week, and this is the second time. This is the second time in a row when Peter has been. Now, I don't know, Peter's a fireman. I don't know. Is he on duty and there's a fire? It may be a little more difficult with him, but still.
So
Go ahead.
So the wording, it's just, would you read it to me again?
Yeah, so following 2 unexplained consecutive absences, a board member will be contacted by the chairperson to ascertain the intentions of said member about his/her future attendance. If any member has more than 6 unexplained absences a year, the planning board shall ask the mayor for a replacement.
So, I'm thinking back to when I was teaching.
Mm-hmm.
So if the wording is just unexplained, explained can be, that's pretty nebulous.
Right.
Unexplained. I mean, I can explain,
Mhm.
really, I didn't want to be there and I really wanted to be up the street. That's an explanation.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So,
I guess I thought it meant like not showing up without informing you. Like,
But still, David,
This
David,
is an RSVP
yeah,
and people are like, nope, not coming this month
right,
for like 4 months in a row. Like,
right.
it doesn't matter whether you have a reason or not. Like, it's not helpful to the committee.
Right.
Right. So I think I think, I don't know if you need to have the.
unless you're in the
Explain.
emergency room, we expect you to.
We can do virtual from the.
Virtual from the
If you're on
emergency room.
vacation, like,
Coming-
Donna came in from the beach in Florida, but like, by and large, people should be able to take vacations. Sometimes that will coincide with when our meetings are, but.
That's unexcused or
Yeah.
excused that versus.
Unexplained, so unexcused. So
I'm looking
Donna
at,
has her.
Donna, go for it.
So, I mean, one of the things that's tricky here is that the planning board, it's the committee and the chair, so you're talking to the chair, so it feels like there's another level between the CPC and the member and the chair of the committee that might be appointing them, or whoever the appointing body is. So I don't know if there are steps there that need to be taken. And yeah, in
Mm.
terms of excuse, I guess one of the thoughts that I had was that, how forward are we at the outset saying to the committee chairs, to the mayor, to the city council, if you're appointing these people, then can you please explain to them, I feel like we need to make the policies transparent at the outset, first of all.
Mhm, absolutely.
And then think about like what that chain is in terms of communication. And I absolutely agree that we should RSVP.
Jack?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I think that unexcused might be better terminology. Because if someone's on vacation, someone has an anticipation that they're not going to be able to come. I think that there should be a number of those that we should probably come up with. Maybe that's 2, but also I think after the second unexcused or second no-show, there should be some language in there saying that you would contact the appointing board or whoever was responsible so that they're aware, because I don't know that the chair of that board that appointed them actually would know that they were showing up.
Yes.
Good point.
Yeah, okay. So let's think this through a little bit. If we are going with the 2 unexcused absences, then the procedure would be 2 unexcused absences. A letter will go to the appointing body, informing them of the situation.
To both,
To,
to the appointing body and the person.
and the person, that's good, informing them of that situation. And,
Bye.
bye, John. And, informing them of the situation, and asking that this person should the appointing body be discussing it with them, to ensure that they can meet their obligations? Is that what we're asking?
Yes. I mean, I feel like that might be expecting too much of the appointing body.
Okay.
Especially, I know, I don't know, the Conservation Commission has changed since I was appointed to this, but I know when I was appointed to this, it was basically nobody wanted to do it. I volunteered, so everyone had a huge sigh of relief. So if that was still the case, they wouldn't have any incentive to replace me. They would want me to be doing it because no one else wants to do it, you know? So I mean, I feel like it might be good to notify the committee, but also I think we're the ones who would have to be like asking them, like, what are your intentions? And, I do have the language from the Conservation Commission.
Okay, oh, good.
It's maybe less helpful because it's a lot more vague. Following 3 unexplained consecutive absences from scheduled meetings, the absent Conservation Commission member will be contacted by the chair to determine the intention of that member regarding future membership. If attendance becomes problematic to the smooth working of the commission, the chair will address the issue with the member. If it continues to be an issue, the chair will contact the mayor for resolution. Excused absences should be reported to the chair and designated in the meeting minutes. That's what the Conservation Commission has. So that's differentiating between the unexplained and excused. So
I just like the aspect of that better about, because the planning board mentions replacement, maybe there's some mechanism that planning board members can be replaced, but for the CPC, besides I don't know how a member can be unappointed without them resigning, so I think that language is better because it reflects reality where you can't do that.
I guess I don't know if an appointing body could remove someone, you know, like if the Conservation Commission could remove me from this because they didn't think I was representing the Conservation Commission.
Yeah, from my perspective, it just hasn't happened. The committees that I staff for the city, it hasn't happened since I've been here, so yeah, I don't know if it's actually possible.
Donna's got her hand up too.
Donna?
2 things. One, I feel like I'm back in my teacher mode when we were talking about unexcused absences.
Yes.
And then also, I just want to sort of make space for the idea of like, how much is it us sort of bearing down and how much is it, you know, y'all need to talk amongst yourself and get your house in order and have somebody that shows up. It's not probably not helpful. It's just putting it out there, you know.
Well, for what it's
Go
worth.
ahead, Sarah. Yeah, it's worth.
Well, I don't even, I don't know if I'm officially on the committee or not.
You are.
Am I? 'Cause
You are.
Okay, cool, because it was.
You are. You're absolutely
All
right.
right. Okay, cool. I'm sorry in advance. But I did appreciate actually that there was an RSVP request sent in the email. On the historic commission, one of the most embarrassing things that ever happened to us happened quite recently when the chair was on vacation. And I think he was actually teaching. One of the times he was available, he was on vacation. He called in from Canada to initiate the meeting. And then another time he was teaching and the mayor was at our meeting and the head of the Greenfield Savings Bank was at our meeting and we were so red in the face and our tail was between our legs after the fact. But we don't have that communication going forward. I am going to be there. So we kind of just see who shows up. It's very,
Mhm.
ad hoc and it's not structured at all. So from my recent perspective, it seems like the RSVP system is more helpful than it is tedious.
Mhm. Okay, so
Is
where,
that new? I don't remember RSVP.
Yeah, it's the first time I've done it.
It is.
I like it.
it's
I
good.
mean, it's good to know if you're gonna, like,
Yeah.
if you're even expecting
Yeah.
quorum, right? Especially if like it's an August one and we're like, oh, actually, nobody's gonna be there. Like,
Yeah, I don't want
that's
to
a
be
little.
stressed about quorum ever again.
Yes,
So-
yes, yes.
Yeah.
I quite like that. Yeah, because like I said, we've had instances where we're like, do we have a quorum? I guess we don't meet today. Bye, guys. And it's just, it seems very lackluster. A way to do that. So
The other thing is, we're all here now.
Mhm.
We're all listening to this.
Right.
So maybe we don't need to formalize a policy because we've all heard it now. If you
Well-
can't be here,
Everybody's not here, actually.
oh, Peter's.
Peter's not here.
Sorry, I forgot.
Yeah.
Peter.
Peter's not here and,
And the
some,
composition of the committee right now might be different.
Yeah,
I know, you're right.
That's
you're
true.
right.
I think it's worth having something. I think it's also worth noting that the people like, you folks coming in from historic and conservation and rec, like by being appointed to this, their workload is getting doubled. So like, oh yeah, sounds great to be on the historic commission. I'm interested in historic stuff. I'd love to like be on a town committee.
I get you.
Surprise! All of a sudden you're signed up for like 2 meetings a month at least, and
Yeah.
ours isn't super contentious, but sometimes the historic ones or conservation ones, there's a bunch of people with a lot to say.
yeah, Misty and then Donna.
So what about Amy? Is she still on supposedly?
No, Peter has replaced Amy and he's not showing up. He's from the planning board and so
Because the planning board is also like a horrific
yeah,
thing to be on.
yeah.
So I want to ask Sarah. Could I just ask?
You
Sarah?
could ask Sarah, you got
Okay.
the floor at the moment.
So had you known that there was going to be an attendance thing, would you have hesitated to join CPC or no?
No.
You would have been so excited.
I was. They were like, do you want it? And I was like, yeah. To quote our lovely lady Erin, I love municipal government.
Donna.
So, yeah, to Garth's point, I mean, and to other points, like, it is one of those things that it gets piled on. And I did avoid it the first year. But then there was nobody else. And so I showed up and I've been showing up for a couple of years now. And I think that it's on the onus of the committee being represented to be clear that this is a commitment. And then I guess it just gets down to people, like how much of a show up person are you and how seriously do you take things? But again, I want to circle back to the appointing bodies because I feel like, there has to be some communication with them regarding we need this. And I think the only way to do that is to have clear policies that we can communicate to the mayor and the city council and the chairman of the committees to say, this is something that, we're looking for and here are the requirements.
I have a
You know.
question.
Sure, go for it.
That sort of dovetails there. So, but if there's a quorum, just this number of people, that not having somebody from the rec in the quorum doesn't affect the decisions that get made by the council, by the group.
Well, in theory not. But in reality, if, for instance, we've got a proposal in front of us and it's complicated. And we've been working, let's say there's something that we really are trying to figure out. And if someone hasn't been to the meetings where that discussion has happened, and then they show up at the meeting where he said, okay, we're going to make a decision, then we're starting from square one with that person. So that's the thing that I'm concerned about. It's not, if, as long as we have a quorum, we're fine. That's not the issue. But I want to make sure that anybody who's involved is involved as fully as possible, and that we are making decisions based on what everybody agrees to. So I'm wondering, because just so you know, Sarah, at later in, once we get the full proposals in, we probably will be going to a 2-meeting-a-month regimen for a couple of months, 2 or 3 months, to be able to get everything done. So
Don't tempt me with a good time.
so it is a commitment. It is a commitment, that we ask. And if we're doing that and we're trying to get through the proposals, then it does get difficult if we can't make that decision. So I'm wondering, do we want to start with something as simple as a letter from me to all the appointing bodies, just saying, this is what our situation is. This is what, we are, our expectation is that there will not be any more than 2 unexcused absences in a row, and see what happens. Do we want to start that way?
Is it a row or general?
So Jack.
Yep. No, Jack, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention that I think 6 is a lot. And so
Yeah.
I really like the idea of the wording that was already kind of expressed. And then I think the conservation had like maybe a sentence that was nicely clarifying. But
Mhm.
I'm more thinking like a third of the year. So 3 is probably at the point where the chair saying to someone, you haven't been here a third of the year. Are you sure this is a good fit for you? Is there anyone else at your organization, that might be or part of your committee? Just because also, if there isn't anyone, it's probably better just to have a vacant seat than us anticipating whether or not someone's going to come. And if we're thinking like, if we have some recreation proposals coming up and we don't have the opinion of someone with that background, it's better for us all to come into the meeting knowing we don't have that expertise and we could do some additional research. So I was just thinking that 6 seemed like a lot, but it would be nice to have a nice, clear, thought and be able to give this to people and say, these are our committee expectations.
So I've been trying to collate all of the conversation into a formal thing. And just to be clear, this isn't something obviously that's going to end up in the city code. This is very internal to just the committee itself. So it doesn't rise to that same level, but it can still be used as an enforcement mechanism. So what the language I put together is following 3 unexcused absences, a committee member will be contacted by the chairperson to ascertain the intentions of said member about their future attendance. If unexcused absences continue, the chairperson shall ask the committee member's appointing body for a resolution.
But 2.
I think
Seems-
2,
2 unexcused absences?
yeah. I mean, given we make pretty big decisions every meeting, and they're cumulative.
Yeah, right.
To finally then deciding, and what we decide has a big impact on the people who have applied. And so it's like, it's kind of a big deal. I mean, did it feel, Becky, you acted like you thought it was a big deal, like positive. I'm being positive about that.
Yeah, I think it is a big deal. You're talking about our taxpayer dollars and how they're getting spent. And if you're up for that, and you get to give away money, I mean, that's just like a gift, right? So.
And another thing about this committee is people are coming directly to us. And so we're responding directly to the community. And that's a really big responsibility.
Yeah.
And so I think that to hold it kind of tight, it is good. And those of us who show up, and we sometimes miss, but rarely, I mean, people have, whatever.
So are we keeping it at like the unexcused? Like, what do you do if someone just RSVPs and they're like, can't make it, can't make it, can't make it 4 times in a row,
Language would be consecutive.
Consecutive, yeah.
right? Or, or every other one. Right.
Or
Yeah.
meetings in a year, and we've missed a lot.
Travis, you were gonna say something?
So I got two things actually. So one is not trying to push back on Jack too much, but when you said that it might be better to have an opening than to have someone who's not coming, the city code actually says that someone has to be reappointed within 45 days of a vacancy. So if the Conservation Commission position became available, Conservation Commission's responsibility is to do that within 45 days. Doesn't always happen, but.
Right, right,
It's supposed
right.
to be.
In theory.
And then the other thing is, I guess I just wanted to mention that because I'm expecting a baby in December, I might be having some absences. And I'm not sure how that, fit, like, if I'm like, oh, I want to take care of my baby for a few weeks or a couple months or whatever, and take a little time off from committees. Does those count as excused absences, or are those consecutive absences, or?
This is a baby-friendly group.
Yeah.
Bring your baby, right?
That's the baby around.
Yeah, bring the baby. I think we're gonna have to finesse this. I don't think we can have every situation written in, but why don't we do this? I think the language that Christian has come up with is probably adequate for us for the time being, at least. And that we table this until next meeting. Christian, you send it out to all of us so we can take a look at it and think about it. And then we'll make a decision at the next meeting. Does that seem right to folks? Okay, I'm seeing shaking heads. Okay, then we'll move on.
So.
And how about, are you gonna have some kind of a cover letter to go with this? This is such a good committee that I want all the departments to realize.
Well, we're not at that point yet, but yeah. What would happen is that I would send a letter to all of it would officially come from me that I would send a letter to all of the heads of all of the appointing bodies and saying, we want you to know this is our policy at this point, and starting as of, let's say starting as of the January meeting, this will be the policy that's enforced or what have you, so we can. And since probably in January, we'll start doing our 2-a-month meetings, it'll be something that we really do have to get a handle on.
Here's a silly question from.
Sure.
When do we have our meetings?
Our meetings at this point are the 4th Thursday of the month.
Oh, cool. Okay, because I was gonna say, if there's a conflict with a pre-existing, like, the Historic Commission is the first Thursday of every month. So that doesn't conflict for me at all, but like, God, God forbid.
Right. We've walked through this once. We can do it again, and we're going to have to do it when we start going to 2 a month anyway. So we will, we're trying to make it so that everybody can come. And so, we've had meetings that have not been on Thursday. We've had,
of
all that
course.
kind of stuff. So we'll figure it out.
Of course, yeah.
Not Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Not Thanksgiving. Not Thanksgiving. Do not have.
I noticed that Thursday is Halloween, and that's why we're meeting today.
No, it's actually just the fourth Thursday, and since this is a 5-week month.
Where's it? Why we?
So there you go.
There
you go.
October's crazy.
I get paid every 2 weeks. So I'm like, every week is a 4 week.
Okay, what I realized is that with Jack coming on and with Sarah coming on, we have not at least introduced ourselves in a small way. And so before we go to the old business, I'd just like to go through that and have a little bit of context for them, for who's here and who you represent, and, anything else you'd like to say about your tenure here and all of that kind of thing. Is that comfortable for everybody? Okay, all right, since I'm chair. I'm Susan Wojgaftik. I am the appointee from the city council. And my background is in housing, and I've also been working, I worked on the development of the skate park, so I've got some recreation background too. So that's and I'm going to go to Donna because she is the vice chair.
Hi, I'm Donna. I'm the vice chair and I am the representative of the Recreation Commission. Yeah. So, welcome to both of you. I look forward to working with you.
Okay, and we'll let Jack and Sarah come last.
Okay.
Misty?
I'm Wisty Rohrabacher, and I never know who, I'm a community person. I'm a community person, and I've been here since the first meeting and love this committee and the work that we do. And I'm really glad we're talking about the absence thing because the cohesion of it feels so valuable and the trust that we all get with one another. So, welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah, and thanks to all the members.
From the city council. Steve.
I'm from the city council.
There you go. See,
Appointed.
you learn something new every day.
That's right, and I'll forget it, but
Becky?
I am Becky George. I'm a mayoral appointee. I wrote a letter when I saw there was an opening to Ginny and I said, I really want to be on this. And she said, okay. Background, I've lived in Greenfield for over 20 years. I worked through the Bay State Health System. I worked at the Franklin County Chamber of Commerce. I've worked with Big Brothers Big Sisters. I've just been in and around this town for a long enough time that I see this as a very valuable organization and I wanted to be part of it. And Garth twisted my arm. No, he didn't. I'm just, I'm kidding, but it's nice to have new people that I think you're gonna be here every month.
Garth?
I'm Garth Schoenfeld. I believe I'm also a mayoral appointment. Yeah, I've been on since the
Since the beginning.
beginning. Even voted for it. Yeah. Despite the $32.15 extra I gotta pay. It seems like a good idea. Yeah.
This is,
Welcome new folks.
this is we've done one cycle, we've done 2 cycles, and we had a year ahead of time. So this is actually our 4th year.
Oh, cool.
Travis?
I was trying to look at my emails to see when the first email I got was about forming this body.
In 2021.
2021. Yeah. Travis Drury, I am here representing the Conservation Commission. I've also been here since June 2021. I was chair for the past 2 years. And really tried to dive into the details as much as I could to figure things out. But as I said, I'm gonna be having our first kid in December, so I wanted to back off from right now. So yeah, and I work for the state as an environmental analyst in water quality, so that's what I do professionally.
And we'll have Christian, and then we'll go to Jack and to Sarah.
I'm Christian Plant. I'm the Economic Development Assistant for the city. I'm the staff support for several of the city's committees, including this one. And I've been here almost since the beginning. I wasn't here for the first meeting, but in July 2021, I started for the city. So I've been here for 3 years as well.
And when we go to Jack, and then we'll go to Sarah.
My name is Jack Redman. I am the executive director of the Greenfield Housing Authority, and my background is housing. Oh, and this
Sarah.
is the second meeting, I guess.
Hi, I am Sarah Bolduc. I am David Brock's replacement from the Historic Commission. I've been here my whole life, all 32 years, and I have a gross obsession with everything Greenfield, not the Facebook page. I've been looking at Greenfield for a long time, and I started with the Historic Commission on a whim from one of the other members. And when the CPC started coming up more and more about the things that are being done as far as how they relate to the historic downtown and things like that, it became abundantly clear when David Brock stepped down that somebody would need to take their place. And I'm not surprised when they were like, hey, you wanna? The mayor had a brick at our last meeting, at one of the other meetings that she came to, and I was like vibrating just the right amount of excited. I feel like this is a good place to be, you know, to get things done and make things happen.
Excellent.
We have a
Welcome,
new
welcome.
person on the-
Yeah. Yep. Yes.
Kirsten Wintergarten, I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, she's just watching.
You just walked in the meeting.
Chicken in.
Um, okay, there's one thing I should mention, and that is we rotate minute taking. And, I'm going,
Unless someone wants to volunteer.
unless someone wants to do every time, but we haven't found that person.
Actually, I can do that.
Really? Really?
I was gonna bring my computer, but I didn't know if a lot of clickety clackety would be in the way,
Not a
but
problem.
I, you know, didn't know what to expect, so I don't mind taking minutes.
Sarah, if you would love, if you take minutes, you would make all of us very, very happy.
Would make us very happy.
I can certainly do that.
Okay,
Points
all right,
clear.
all right.
I might need a little guidance the first couple of times, because I've never done it before, but I'm
Okay.
happy to try.
Okay, well, we've got a format that we use and, you know, I think, Christian, could you assist Sarah in that process?
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's just about striking the right level of detail where you're not doing everything verbatim, but you're also giving a good capture of the conversation. So someone looking back can understand what happens.
Exactly, yeah, I'm a very quick typer, so I can kind of, I don't play tabletop games that do the same thing.
Okay, moving on, old business, Christian.
Yes, project updates. I will just go down the list per usual. Franklin County Agricultural Society barn rehabilitation, there's actually an update for that one. That's been done for about a year. But we were still waiting on the historic preservation restriction from the Mass Historic Society to be returned to us. We sent them a draft about a year ago and it has returned last week. So I've sent that back over to Michael Nelson from the Agricultural Society just for him to look it over. They had a few tweaks, nothing substantial. And then once he gives me the okay, they'll have to go through city council, I believe, and a few other people to sign off on it. But from there, then we'll have a perpetual preservation restriction on the barns at the Agricultural Society.
And this is on the roof. This is on the barns as a whole or on the roof?
I believe that means for the whole.
I'll think.
You can't tear them down and that you have to, they have to be repaired, they have to be repaired to certain historic standards.
So.
As opposed to the roundhouse.
Well, yes, these are the barns, we provided funding for the roofs in our first round. The reason I'm saying that is because they've come back to us for some more funding, and I want folks to understand that this is not for the funding that they have. It would relate to the funding that they are requesting, but it's not, that's a totally different question, and we will be dealing with that in this round of applications.
Yeah.
Okay, what else we have?
Historical Society document preservation. I haven't had any updates from them. I'll try and check in with them. Museum of our Industrial Heritage, they had, for their shop equipment restoration, they had sent me an update just right before our last meeting. So no updates there, but they're plugging along at creating the pieces of the shop equipment that needed to be fabricated in order to make it whole once again.
Let me, since we have new people, let me just recap. Okay. There were, in terms of the Historical Society, there were documents, there were a whole list of documents from, what's Peter's last name? Peter Miller. And we provided funds to help get them organized and be put into appropriate boxes or whatever other things they were doing. And so that process, so we haven't heard back from them for a little while. And so we want to hear, we want to check in. And in terms of the Museum of our Industrial Heritage, that they have a machine that is very indicative of the kind of work that was done here, you know, when it was being used, and it requires special fittings to be able to make it actually work. And we helped support the fittings that are making it work, but they're still in the process of getting that done. So this is an update on that. Go ahead.
Christian, do you think you could share that on the screen? So we can see the list while you're.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Is that list available or is it as a document that we can look at?
He
Or?
has it.
You'll get it.
You will get, we'll make sure you get onto the, onto this, on this share. We have a Google share section and you can
Oh my God, you guys.
look at it all to the heart, your heart's content.
Organized. I love it.
It's because of Christian.
I try. For the Wi-Fi?
Yeah,
There's a Wi-Fi password over
I
there.
didn't ask for a password. Okay.
Clinical and support options for their Wall Street shelter expansion, expanding the shelter over on Wall Street. So the CPA funds were actually for the creating the new units. They're also rehabilitating other parts of the building, but this is for the new part of it. And obviously that it's in progress, but construction hasn't started.
I do have a little bit of an update on that. I saw Kelly a couple of days ago, and they will be moving people out of the present building into the temporary housing for the shelter sometime before the end of November, probably. They're working for the middle of November, but certainly by the end of November. And so then work will be starting. So
That temporary is at the educational facility on Arch Street.
Arch Street, yes. Okay.
Next is the Kimboas and Greenfield Recreation Department Trail Restoration Project. That's kind of firming up some trails that were getting lost to erosion up in Rocky Mountain Park and Highland Park. And last time Travis was able to give the most recent update to that because it was going through the Conservation Commission. Anything happens there?
I think, I mean, at this point, I think they're gonna wait until next year. They were
Yeah.
hoping to do it this summer, and I think the planning didn't come through correctly on time, so I think that's gonna happen next year.
Then next is the pickleball court expansion. That's funding for design and feasibility study for creating the pickleball courts over by Abercrombie Field in a grassy area over there. So that was just for the design part. And this year they have a request in for the actual construction. And so that's also in progress.
What's the portions that's been done so far? It looks like we paid out like 1,000.
Yeah,
Fine.
better question for Christy. But they are working with it's Berkshire Design Group pretty actively to create the designs. Biggest update is that the track at the Greenfield High School is now ADA accessible. A project that you funded. Let me see. I'm gonna pull up if it's in my email from Christy, but there's photos which I think are really great to be able to see that.
And Susan just signed the final report.
I did. I just signed it this afternoon. So just
Wow.
as we were waiting to come in here. So we're good. We have that done.
Yeah, I don't have the photos, but that's okay. But that's complete, which is fantastic. Same thing with Beacon Park, that's been done for a while. That's the bocce courts over by Beacon Field. Those are completed. That was funded through CPA. The Shattuck Park Fitness Cluster, that's also been done for a while. That's the new fitness equipment next to the playground near the high school at Shattuck Park. And then recreation site amenities is almost complete. There's one more that has to be installed. So that's why it still says in progress. And so that was all the projects funded under fiscal year 2023 for fiscal year 2024. The Garden Block, AKA the Garden Cinema, they're in progress on fixing up their facade. There's lots of cracks near the bottom as well as up on the top. Basically, the whole kind of underneath facade, underneath the Garden Cinema area is in need of repairs. So that's already been paid out partially for part of the work, and work is still ongoing. The Tim Grader 278 main cornice was canceled. It was a request to fix the cornice up on the top part of the building, repainting it, but that was canceled. The CPA funds weren't needed. The project still went on its own without CPA funding. And so those project funds, the 20,000 will get returned into the pot, presumably for this year. I have to work with accounting to make sure that's able to happen. Tim Grader, actually, it's actually, I believe, Franklin and Maine LLC, for their downtown housing project. That's redoing some buildings and expanding the rear of them, kind of down where the Legion lot is, to the right of the co-op, where Nam's Taekwondo studio is. So that's the development work for it, is the CPA funding.
It's a feasibility study to build housing above where the buildings that are there now. And so we don't know, and one of the things was how many units, and that's one of the things that the feasibility study is trying to figure out.
We were under the understanding that there was gonna be almost like a demo, like they were gonna wipe the buildings completely out and start from scratch.
No.
Okay.
He's already got two up there. They're very
Yeah.
nice. On the one side of the building, it's the other side that he's talking about,
Mhm.
adding more apartments.
So there could be 20, there could be 40. That's what we're waiting to hear, somewhere in between those two. So.
Oxbow Design Build Cooperative, they are building a house on Hope Street. That's in progress. They're kind of doing their pre-development work right now. The CPA funding will go towards the construction when that happens. That's what was approved.
What number, Hope, does it say?
Is it 187? I'm surprised I didn't put it in.
I think that I've seen it.
Yeah.
It's way down there close
At
to
the
the
end,
bridge. Yeah,
where they cleared out all the stuff that was in the yard, and they've actually done a lot of work.
I think a lot of work.
Windows went in.
Yeah.
Yeah. it
Yeah.
looks
Is
great.
that about the Oxbow one?
No, I don't think Oxbow has
No.
built anything yet.
You know, I thought that was it.
No, I mean,
Given
that was a different one. That one
Yeah.
got that got sold. They broke it up into 3 lots. There was a lot of like shuffling
I
around
don't know
of
where it is then.
LLC stuff down there.
Yeah.
But
It is 187.
the land has been cleared. The land was cleared.
187 is the empty lot that's kind of, I think it's between Marshall and James Street.
Sounds right.
That sounds right.
It was like it was a town-owned lot or a town like took like a sort of a derelict building for, abandoned building for taxes. Yeah, it's up
Yeah.
on the hill next to the Bullocks land there.
Yep.
Okay, thanks.
Actually, since we're talking about it, I believe the picture is in here, of what they're hoping to do. Yeah, that's what they're hoping to build.
I feel like I've seen that.
It doesn't look like the one I'm thinking of.
No, this
I mean, there's nothing, I don't
there's
think.
nothing there. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is a drawing.
Okay.
And Habitat for Humanity, they sent me a quarterly report for their there's a 184 Petty Plain Road. They're building a house there up near the fairgrounds, which is making great progress.
Yeah, the walls are up, the windows are in, they're getting there.
And then Christie's 3 projects, the agreements have been signed, and she's working on finishing up her last year's projects, and then these ones will be the ones she's working on in the upcoming year. But the bike racks is installing bike racks at a few different trailheads, Highland Park amongst others. Hillside Park is putting a shade structure over the splash pad there, so people, or the benches by the splash pad, so people can get out of the sun, otherwise it's baked there, it's really bad.
And providing
And the walkway.
a walkway. Yeah, a walkway, yeah.
Yeah, right now there's half of the loop there is paved, and then it turns into kind of nothing, and so it's going to be a whole loop so parents can walk around while their kids are playing in the middle, which is a fantastic way to do it. And then trail wayfinding is adding signs to Highland Park for the actual march trails.
Fantastic. So
Did we do trail wayfinding like the FERCog project? Was that in 2022?
That was it was requested in 2022, but I believe that's what ended up getting funded through capital through the city.
Donna?
Yeah, I just wanted to update on that. We had a Recreation Commission meeting on Tuesday, and there are a lot of moving parts in terms of figuring out like where the trails are. The Recreation Commission has been some members have been meeting and walking. We've been working with the FERCog. We've established some sort of draft trail loops, as well as ideas of where the kiosks might go. But there's also a few figuring out who owns some of the land and can we get easements. So it's a fairly involved process.
Thanks, Donna. That's helpful.
Donna, I actually have a question about that from the Conservation Commission point of view, because there is, I know there's conservation land up there that trails go through as well. And I know the Conservation Commission hasn't heard anything, so I don't know if there are any plans for just like keeping the trails that are going through the conservation land the same, or if those are being looked
Well-
at as being changed.
So as I said, there are a lot of moving parts
Yeah.
and part of it is sort of, I mean, at this point, there are some rough maps of like, okay, this will be the orange trail and this will be the blue trail, and like trying to figure out, you know, what the uses for the different trails are. We did talk about separating out bikes versus walking and felt like that probably wouldn't work because it wasn't enforceable. So the next step, as I understand it, is really sort of saying, okay, yes, this makes sense. This map makes sense. This is where we want the trails to be. And then figuring out not just what is conservation land, but also what is private land. Where do people park? How do we get easements? Is there, you know, who owns what? So I wouldn't be concerned because it's still sort of a budding process.
Yeah.
And I would add that one of the things that Christy brought up was the possibility of potentially having like a subcommittee that really looks more deeply at that. And as I'm sure you can imagine, the hardworking recreation commissioners were feeling like, I don't know if we have the capacity to all be on a subcommittee, and who can we get to be on said subcommittee? But I will follow up with Christy and maybe we can get some of you folks or someone from conservation to be
Can
part of
have
that
a-
conversation.
Have a subcommittee of the open space task force.
Right, well,
Yikes.
that was the other thing, because the open space task force is sort of a subcommittee of
Yeah.
a larger committee, and
Are you telling us there are only 3 people and they're doing all this work?
it feels like that sometimes, it does.
Garth, did you have something you wanted to ask?
I was just gonna say, I mean, there's, I guess, legal issues around like who owns what. But if you like actually want, you know, either holding some sort of open house or like, I know Facebook is a snake pit, but like the Highland Friends of Highland Park or whatever group, like, it's probably just worth saying like, here's a draft thing. We're putting it out to like the mountain bikers and the Friends of Highland Park, and you know, like, they'll give you feedback. You don't have to listen to all of it. Right, that's sort of like the standard thing, like, you didn't listen to us. No, we listened to you and we decided your idea was stupid. and you can do it."
Right.
That's
Well-
valid too.
Yep,
But
so
like,
what
you
I
know,
have
people are
seen-
gonna be really mad if it becomes like, oh, we've decided these are the trails, and they're like, dude, I walk my dog every morning there and we go here, 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 and here, and that's not the trail.
Yeah, so I mean, it's definitely an order of operations thing. What we were presented with at the Rec Commission was something from the FERCog, which was like a Google map, you know, and the woods were green and the streets were gray. But what we really need, and I think the next step is to be able to have the property lines laid over that. So that's where we're at. And I think that
There's an
that
app for that.
happens before we can sort of pull in the community. But I'll certainly note what you've said, Garth, because I agree that there are a lot of people that use those trails, and I'm sure that they have an opinion. Yeah.
Thanks, Donna. Okay, go ahead, Sarah.
For what it's worth, excuse me, oh my God. For what it's worth, that particular area, Rocky Mountain Park, actually holds quite a bit of significant historical value. And you could go so far as to say, oh, there's, there could be a historic trail, particularly like there's foundations right in the front, the geological history. But also I've been through the back and I pulled horseshoes out from when it was part of the Cheapside Port.
Mm.
So for what it's worth, there's significant historical value, and that might be something that the Historic Commission could be involved in, or somebody who has a lot of historic knowledge and is on this committee. So, just to put that out there.
You might have a fourth person on your committee, Donna.
I'm recruiting subcommittee members, so your
Sub-
interest is
subcommittee.
duly noted.
Christian.
Okay, and then just one last update on a project that was proposed for this year. But Sarah Brown is not going to be submitting a full application for the improving public access at the trails at Stone Farm Lane. She sent me an email the other day. She says, I wanted to update that we would like to rescind the pre-app by Valley Community Land Trust to improve public access trails at Stone Farm Lane. After speaking with Christy, we learned about the rec department plans to have trail easement there already, held by the city with legal advice from the Franklin Land Trust. The rec department will be able to provide funding for a small trailhead sign, small gravel parking area, and include it in the city trail map. I'm glad the CPC application prompted the conversation with Christy, so it was still fruitful. Please feel free to park over on Stone Farm Lane and check out the trails meanwhile. Sarah.
Okay.
So we only
All right.
have 12 projects.
12 projects
that are
to-
new that we just got
Right.
the information. about.
Right, and they are on the drive, the Google Drive, and Christian will, if you haven't already, he will connect you up with that. And then you will be able to take a look at what we have so far, which is pre-applications, which are one pagers.
And
One
they're
pagers.
also on the
Yeah.
city website.
Yeah.
For anyone that wants to look at it in a public facing way.
Oh, cool.
Yep.
And with that, unless there's something else, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, so the
Travis?
process now is we're waiting for full applications for those projects.
Those are
Then those are due
due
November 15th. Which basically means I don't think there's all that much of a need for a November meeting. It's because you're not gonna have it on Thanksgiving
Mhm.
and you need some time to look at.
That was our next discussion. So, yeah, so, and then we go into overdrive with trying to evaluate them and have discussions with them about them and what our questions are and getting questions back to applicants and all of that kind of thing. So with that, do we feel like we need to have a November meeting? Or do we want to wait until December? Do we want to start having 2 a month in December? Or do we want to, because we would also have to have, considering that the end of December.
Two in December is
Take a look.
tricky with.
Yeah, the end of December is going to be tricky. So we could have an earlier meeting in December to review stuff and then have a meeting, start our 2 a month in January.
If we met on the 5th of December, first Thursday. Did you say
First Thursday. That's me.
Okay.
First Thursday.
I've done second Thursdays when we were doing twice a month.
Yeah,
That still works.
but well, do we want to organize that now? Or do we want to wait until December when everybody's got their calendars to be able to figure that out in December at our December meeting? Organize it now?
I'm gonna just slide on.
Okay, so a December meeting,
Well,
the 12th, either the 12th or the 5th is, what's good for
can't be the
folks?
5th.
Can't be the 5th. Okay,
Can't do the 12th, rec commission,
rec commission, okay,
19th?
19th works.
19th,
It works.
19th?
19th,
19th.
May or may not be able to make.
Yeah, we know,
20th.
the chances are good,
No.
Travis
I
will
may
be
not be
here.
there,
We'll excuse you.
As long as it's excused.
Okay, so we're saying 5:30 on the 19th for our,
The thing with November is if everybody waits till the 15th to submit it, that's an issue. If a bunch of folks have their full apps in on November 1st, then we can start looking at those
I think
earlier.
we can.
I do realize that November 1st is next week.
Yes, I think we can start looking at applications as soon as they come in, if Christian can let us know that they're there.
Yeah, there's one in so far, which is from the fairgrounds.
Right, I saw that. So we, and we can keep looking at them, and then we can, on the 19th, we can have a fairly informed discussion about at least what our questions are, and what needs to get back to people. And at that time, we can plan the January and February meetings, which we will need to do, but since we only have 12, that's not terrible. We can do that. Mhm.
If the 15th is your deadline, why couldn't we meet on the 21st of November? Week before Thanksgiving.
If folks want to do that, that's my question.
That's the,
Yeah.
that's the third
Rec
Thursday,
commission,
Oh, rec commission,
The
On the
21st?
third Thursday.
third Thursday.
Oh, sorry.
Okay. Is there another day of the week? Let me throw that out there just in case.
How about the following Friday, the 22nd?
The 22nd?
Not do Fridays.
Okay, all right. The 20th?
It's a hospital.
Is that city council?
That's
City council, okay.
Madam Chairwoman, I just question, if they're due on November 15th,
Mhm.
what is it that we want to accomplish at the next meeting after they're due?
The
I
next
mean,
meeting
is it
after,
about us reviewing them and giving them careful consideration? Because if that's the case, I feel like it's gonna be December for me. I have a very busy Thanksgiving coming up.
okay, okay.
And I'd rather have a chance to really dig in. Can we be doing on our own the initial?
Yes,
We'll be doing the initial scorings, and even if we do our initial scorings, as we have done in the past,
mhm,
and come back in December, I still think we're in good shape.
right. Okay,
Okay.
but what do folks think?
Yes.
Okay, we will, Sarah, you and I are gonna make a plan. We're gonna sit down. Sarah and Jack, I'll send you a doodle and we will try to make a meeting where we can talk about the scoring process and talk about all of that, so you'll have an idea of what you're looking
I
at.
think I want to.
Oh, and Becky, you haven't been in it either. So, okay, so I'll send out a doodle to the three of, that's four of us. Are we a quorum?
Then if
Wait.
we're planning,
This is open meeting stuff. Are we too many people?
Yeah, 5 is a quorum.
Five is a quorum. Okay, so we're okay. All right, so we will set up a meeting to kind of go through the scoring process and to talk about how we do this. Does that make sense for folks? Yeah,
as long as you don't have also the person from planning, I can't remember his name.
Peter McIver. Yeah,
That would be 5.
that would be 5.
Has he
Yeah,
ever done it? Oh, no.
he hasn't done it either.
You can do 2
But
smaller meetings.
We can do two, we'll start out with the three of you and we'll see where we,
Could maybe be an
and
email.
we'll
You could
see where
send
we
a
are.
Score sheet,
Yeah.
be like, here's
Yeah.
the thing, do you have any
Yeah,
questions?
yeah, right. And I can contact Peter separately and see what we can do with them. Yeah.
So the scoring, you usually do the scoring after you've met with all the applicants, because there might be
Right.
questions.
Right, but they haven't seen the scoring sheet.
Oh,
You
just
know,
to send.
just to sit down and talk about what's in the sheet and to do all that kind of thing. So I'll set up a meeting for the four of us, and then I'll also do something with Peter and see if he,
Well, I can meet during the day.
yeah. We'll see. Okay, would you be able to meet during the day?
Work 7 to 3:30.
7 to 3:30. So a late afternoon meeting might.
That would be preferable. I can do
Okay.
Zoom if necessary, or I can do
Okay.
it with a phone.
Okay.
Wow.
And Jack, would a late afternoon meeting be okay for you?
Yeah.
Okay.
The only thing I'm thinking is that we should probably wait until after November 15th. Since I'll be submitting applications on behalf of the Housing Authority.
This is a good point. This
I
is a
don't think
good
it's
point.
fair that we meet as a group before the 15th, just for the other applicants.
Mhm. That sounds right. So we'll set it up for after November 15th.
Week of the 18th.
Hmm?
I'm saying the week of the 18th,
The week of the 18th might be good. Yeah.
early in the.
Okay, early in that, okay, early week of the 18th. Okay, we'll see what we can get together on that. Okay, thank you. Is there anything else that we need to talk about today?
Well, I'm just thinking about, selfishly, about, Travis and those sheets that he puts out that
Uh-huh.
helps us make decisions. So if any of us need to sign up for babysitting,
Yeah,
really,
I can still do that stuff.
all right.
But that's not until, I don't know,
March.
it's like end of
That's
February.
end of February,
That's
end of
after
Feb-
the public comments.
Yeah.
After we send out the survey next year,
Right.
early next year.
Right, there's a whole process. We'll kind of go through it when we talk, so you'll get an idea of what needs to be done and why we really want people to be involved on a regular basis, because backtracking on this stuff gets really confusing. All right, anything more that needs to be considered at this particular meeting, at this particular time?
Motion to adjourn?
Second?
Okay, meeting, all those in favor, we need to go through the list. Okay, we need to go through the list. Okay, all right. Donna,
Yes.
Christie,
Yes.
Guard,
Yes.
Becky,
Yes.
Travis,
Yeah.
Sarah,
Yes.
Jack.
Yes.
Okay, and I'm a yes. Okay, meeting is adjourned at
6:51.
1.
Routine.
That was really nice to have that time to talk.